What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of Smoke World. I'm your host, Stone. So go grab that stick, go grab a glass, whatever you're drinking. Let's sit back and have a conversation. You can follow me on Instagram at SmokeWorld50. And I tell you folks this every time. Send those emails into SmokeWorld50@gmail.com. Today I'm sitting with my brothers, Noir and Brother Bake, Vargas, E-Money. My brothers, what is going on, fellas?
Well, man, how you doing?
Oh, man, I'm chilling, brother. Happy New Year to the brothers. We made it to the other side. I got my glasses on. Nobody can see me, so we ain't gonna talk too bad. Okay, okay, ain't the only guy.
Right.
Hey, okay, we look like we all might be getting there. You know, as the years
well
grow,
beyond
so do
that
we.
point in time, man.
Yeah, as the years grow, so do I. As you get a little older, we need the carrots. You know how things. So what's going on, man? What's going on out here in these streets, fellas? What you smoking right now? I know you smoking something. What you smoking, brother Noir?
I am smoking a blend that I'm thinking about putting out. It is a Sumatran wrapper with a Dominican binder and filler. I don't even know what to call it, but I just lit up the foot. It's an interesting flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Well put together. Looks like a generous Corona, maybe a 6-inch Corona, but it's definitely a 48 Vitola. So it's pretty good.
He's getting real technical over there. Okay.
That's what he does,
Yeah,
brother.
I
That's
see,
what
yeah.
he does, you know.
He broke that thing down.
You know, in my opinion, when the first stick comes out for him, it's going to be named after his baby girl Nevaeh, because she got him wrapped around his finger. So
I like that name.
you
though.
know exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, that would be a tight cigar
Yeah,
name, right?
absolutely.
Nevaeh. Yeah.
Wow. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all heard it first? Well, Smoke World. You heard it first, folks. What's going on with the lounges? And anybody been in any lounges? You know, again, we on the other side, folks. We down here in Delaware. So, you know, some of the capacity based on the pandemic, some of the lounges, you know, have to reduce as far as how many folks can sit in the lounge. But nonetheless, we blessed to have a lounge that's pretty large in size. Be able to sit back, relax, still do what we need to do. Have you guys been getting out to sit back and smoke, relax?
Of course, man. Every chance I get.
Every
chance I get.
How about you, brother? E-Money over here sitting here chilling like, you know, he on a MTV video.
Exactly. You know, I'm trying to let my man Noir shine over here. It's his moment, really. I'm just tag teaming on the back end.
Nah, bro.
So
it's a family affair.
Right.
It is a family affair, but I'm throwing all the shine to you and Noir.
Baby.
You know what I mean? It's all about Smoke World and crypto.
Nah,
and
baby,
cigars,
we
baby.
can't do it without nobody. This is what we
You
do.
know?
This is what we do.
So you know, with the whole situation with the with COVID and so forth, it's really funny how the cigar culture has changed the last 20 years. Because I remember when I was a young man, it was frowned upon to smoke a cigar. And I've seen in the last 5 years, we got E Squared out there, we got Cigar Lounge that's been out there longer than most.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we had Spartan bounce up and right over the line in Elkton, and now we have Sessions down the road. So you've gone from just having one watering hole per se, as far as a lounge, to actually an opportunity and a variety of different lounges. You know, they all have their strengths and weaknesses. I would say the only unfortunate thing is that in Delaware, people are very finicky. So it's one of those things where you're hot for 1 minute and then you're not the next. So right now, everybody's pumping on cigar sessions because that seems to be the newness.
It's like hip hop.
Exactly.
You know what though, man? Sessions is nice though, bro.
It is nice, bro.
Oh yeah.
I think.
Watch yourself.
I think aesthetically.
Whoa, security.
Yeah. I think aesthetically and in terms of size and ventilation, Sessions is a great lounge.
Oh, by the most. I mean, the thing is banging. Like, you go in and you sit down, you're in that nice comfy chair.
Right.
You know, if you got some hemorrhoids banging on you, they still comfortable. You know? You know what I mean? So you could just sit there and be like nice and plump. And then, I mean, I remember the conversation I had with, I don't even remember if I had this conversation with you, Smoke. I remember when Dante went down and did the recon run. My main question was, how was the bathrooms? Because I needed to know if I had a clean bathroom to go to.
That's very important.
You know, and that thing is nice and clean and always
brand new.
sanitized and so forth. And not knocking the other places.
No,
It's
not
just,
at all.
It's just, hey, I mean, right now they are literally checking off all the boxes where you can't say no, right? You know, ventilation system, top notch. The atmosphere, top notch.
Yes.
The selection of cigars, top notch. The type of people that are there, it's a very diverse crowd. It is the individuals that you meet in there is top notch. The only thing that I would say would be the negative would be if they would set something up where it's kind of like a BYOB type environment every once in a while, where you're not forced to always buy from the bar. I think they would get a lot more from just having a day or two or a certain type of membership, because they're going to make their money on the cigars at that point in time.
Definitely.
You know?
I like it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to open up your own cigar lounge now. Okay, so you got your ideas. I like
Yeah,
your ideas. I like the concept.
But I'm gonna go to Smoke World Finance and get a loan.
Okay.
and at that
Call the
point in
800
time,
number.
and then at that time, I'll break out that brick and mortar on.
Yes, indeed.
You
Call the
know.
800 number.
Exactly. What's the number on that?
1-800-665-8902.
Not for you.
Exactly. There's no money there. All circuits are busy at the time.
Shut
Please
'em
call
down.
again later.
Exactly.
Your call is important to us, but please hold the line.
Hold the line.
Woo! No doubt. What we drinking here? What's this, brother?
We brought some Jefferson Reserve in. This was given to me at one of a close friend's party we had because of the COVID. We had to really think out the box this year for birthday parties and so forth. And unfortunately, a lot of people turned 50 this year, so they really wasn't able to bang out like they normally did. So one of the guests that came through knew I was a bourbon drinker, knew the crew was a bourbon drinker, and brought this through for me. So it's been sitting on tuck. So I thought yesterday and today would be like the great days to pull them out.
Hey, I appreciate that, brother. It's a very, very, very fine drink.
Yeah.
Speaking of drinks, brother, during the holiday season, won't mention no names, there was a brother who had blessed the crew with some homemade brew. Has a name to it, just like you. I got my freestyle on. Give me a beat. But yeah, bro. So, E, you want to kind of piggyback off of that? Because this guy, he looked just like you a little bit.
Well, they say it's me, so...
That's what they say in the streets.
The
Streets is talking, brother.
People don't know, man. I'm that culture called Puerto Rican, right? So...
Puerto Rico.
Yeah, exactly. All day long. Doom, doom, doom. Doom, 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 doom.
Yeah.
So, I was blessed to learn at a young age. My mom sat down and taught me how to make coquito the old school way. So, give you the background on my parents and so forth. So, I honestly think I was a oops. You know what I'm saying? Because my youngest brother,
a lot of us was oops.
Yeah. But I mean, I really think I was a oops because my oldest youngest brother to me is 11 years older, right? So you think after 11 years, why you want to deal with poopy Pampers and poopy and teething and all that crazy stuff, right? So my mom and dad were older at the time and so forth, and my parents are Depression era babies.
Okay.
So she learned how to do things the old school way even when it came down to washing clothes. So a lot of things I learned from her. So she taught me how to make coquito. So for me, before, you always take things when you're younger for granted. It's like okay, you make it, big deal, but for me right now, it's a tribute to my mom every year, to spread her love and her happiness. So I just make a whole bunch, spend a whole bunch of money. I'm in the kitchen like the Mad Hatter. I kick my wife out. I kick my wife out the house. She's not even allowed in the kitchen to see what the ingredients are.
Folks, I hate to interrupt you right here, folks, but this guy's really serious about not letting you know what the hell it is.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, when he say he kick his wife out,
he meant that.
He's telling the truth. I have to put that disclaimer out there because folks might have just thought that was just
No.
Or are literally kicking her out.
Yeah, kicking her out, or I do some old secret squirrel stuff. Like she'll say, I'm going to lunch with my her best friend at 2:00. So at 2:00 I start making the coquito. When at 1:30 she leaves or 1:00. By the time she get back, it's already made. So it's no opportunity to and I've had people try to reverse engineer it. They taste it and they go cinnamon.
Vanilla. Little ginger.
Yeah. I can taste the rum. Yeah, I'm sure you can.
So you really not gonna get a secret up? Obviously, not on Smoke Rock, But I'm thinking maybe after we get off the air, we can have a conversation.
Nah, the most Smoke World's ever gonna get is a running bottle every year given to the house.
Folks, y'all hear that?
We know
where you live at. We know where he lives. We know where he lives. Yo, that's a banger, brother. I'm trying to tell you.
Thank you, brother.
Listen, I wish you could sell it some kind of way, because we telling these folks out here, they getting their mouth all watery. I want to taste that.
Yeah,
folks, I don't know how you can do it.
It's funny how you mentioned that, Smoke, because I was at the Hallmark store in Fox Run, and I was picking up some items during a holiday, and I was ear hustling this sister that was next to me, and she was talking to her husband, and she was like, "Did you pick up the coquito?" And I'm like, "Pick up the coquito?" So I had to ask her how much she was paying for a bottle.
Right.
So I was like, I asked her, and she was like, "I paid $50 a bottle." I'm like,
wow.
50?
You're the wrong business then.
Yeah. But you know, man. I mean,
and that's when I say it's a banger, folks.
But see, I don't think I would enjoy it, man, if I was making it for money. You know what I mean?
Nah, but nah. You gotta scale up, bro.
Yeah,
you don't have to make it.
Yeah,
but then
I gotta give up them ingredients, and you know what I mean. There's only 2 people that got the ingredients right now, and those are my 2 nephews.
Right.
Hold on, I gotta stop you right there. KFC had a secret recipe.
Yeah, but they changed the flavor. That's why they suck now.
Well, maybe so. Not after they made them millions of dollars already.
Right.
They like, screw you. Yeah,
they
we already made our money.
It's all good at that point.
They might be in the billions. They said, we good. We done made this money.
That's true, yeah.
So,
they're in the PepsiCo. They're all right.
Something you got to sleep on, man. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you got a hell of a drink. We telling folks about this drink. They're listening to us, thinking, all right, these mother effers talking all this smack. We can't taste it.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
We need to change that.
That's true.
Something to think about. It's 2021. Everybody who had it, boom, stamp of approval.
That's true.
So, I'm trying to tell you, folks, it's a banger.
But it's always a stamp of approval when it's free.
No, that's just telling you, okay, that's like crack.
Right.
Listen, the price is real cheap right now.
Right.
But I'm going to get you a comeback.
Right.
On a buck up. Yeah,
so it's no different from the Walmart.
Yeah.
When you go to Walmart, go there.
Yeah.
You come back on a re-up.
Yeah, but
I'll keep you coming.
Yeah, but you know what, man? I can't put no cut on my coquito. I can put cut on some yayo. You know.
That's my dog.
I can't.
That's my dog.
You know what I mean? I can stamp it and brick it up and re-rock it at that. Man, I can't do that with no coquito, man.
Well,
I'm sorry, yo. I went back to my hood days.
Yeah, well, that's all right. But we might have to be able to do that with coquito. We never know.
Man.
So it's like, okay, so you only working with one mind right now.
Yeah.
That's when you incorporate the mastermind.
Yeah, that's true.
My
that's
man,
true.
you put way too much of that rum up in there. Drop that back a little bit.
Drop it
Cut
back
that.
a couple a couple ounces here and there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That runs. You know the game.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
Yeah.
Y'all listen to this, mind your business. Woo! Mind your business. Yo, man, it's been a crazy week this week, brothers. A crazy week. And I don't do politics on the show. And I don't think we're going to say it's politics. But it's been a crazy week. What happened on Wednesday at the Capitol? Talk to me, brothers. What are we talking about right now? At the end of the day, hey, we love our cigar family. We got different ethnicities, we got different backgrounds, but we keeping it real. This is what we call keeping it real. These folks was able to go into the Capitol, walk around, sit on desks, take selfies, take videos. Come on, man. Don't get quiet on me. Come on, son. Come on, son. What y'all think about that?
Go ahead, man.
I'm going to lead it off like this. I served in the military.
Thank you for your service, sir.
You're welcome. Whatever. Bottom line is, man, as minorities, when you look at, it doesn't matter, black, brown, how this country has treated us. What's funny is, us three sitting in here, we all know it's a double standard.
Roger that.
Right? We all know it's a double standard. It just took Wednesday for the world to see it. And to see that it's a double standard. For them to finally see what Noir's father, grandfather, great-grandfather, your father, great-grandfather, uncles, that all the brothers have endured for years and years and years, right? But what was the kicker was that it was privileged America that did whatever they wanted to do, and there was no repercussions behind it. And as a patriot, as soon as them boots would have hit them steps, in my mind, you're an insurrectionist, you're a traitor, you are a combatant, and you are a domestic terrorist. So at that point in time, all of them should have been shot. Y'all may think I'm a little harsh. I really don't give a fuck, because that's how it is. Because really, truly, if it was brown or black people on them steps, it wouldn't have been 4 people that was arrested. It would have been 400, and there would have been 4,000 bodies out there laying down, because they would have had shoot on sight orders to just let loose.
Absolutely.
To let loose. So for me, and I'm gonna pass it on to Noir on this one, because we were having a discussion about it, we've been having a discussion about it, is that now I'm at a point in my life where, you know, I've always had to deal with racism, and I get away with it because I look Caucasian if I don't speak. Okay? If I drop my voice a couple octaves, hello, how are you? I could get away with it.
Is that how it is now?
That's how it is. Let's keep it 100. But let's on some real. When I moved from New York, now everybody knows New York. If you live on one side or the other, you're gonna beef, unless you got brothers that live in the same neighborhood. You're gonna have, if you live in Black Harlem, you in Spanish Harlem, them cats is always beefing, unless you got brothers that live on the same block together that's black and white. Then it's or Spanish or whatever. Then they all mesh together because that's their block, that's their hood. But when I came down here from Delaware, bro, it's under the carpet racism. All right, and I remember moving down here, and it was like we came down to get a better life, and it's like I had to fight the white boys in the morning, you know, or fight the white boys in the afternoon. Why? Because I'm Puerto Rican. You know what I mean? My dad was a couple shades lighter than you, Stone. You know what I mean? My mom was my complexion. So I remember these cats, you know, stopping their cars and peeling out, wheeling out their cars in front of my house, talking about, y'all niggas need to leave. Leave, spick. And then there was a pool. There was a community pool behind our house where it was a membership. And these cats used to jump the fence at night. And they used to literally, as they was jumping off the diving board, saying, fuck you, spick. Fuck you, spick. Fuck you, spick. So even through all that, my mother and father always taught me to love and to care for everybody equally. No judgment. But this stuff that happened on Wednesday, now when I look at a Caucasian brother, I'm like, is he friend or foe? I was never like that until Wednesday, because that now I'm like, these Trumpians, these minions that Trump got is like everywhere. Because think about it, 70 million voted for him.
Yeah.
Right? And I heard a quote a while ago, and it's very profound and it's always stuck with me, is that, you know, you are what you defend. So how can you not tell me you a racist if you're defending these views? You know? And if you look at what happened at the Capitol, there was symbolisms that was there that really caught my stomach. And one of them was that rebel flag being inside that Capitol. And to me, that was like, yo, we captured America with this flag being inside.
You know, as a vet, I think a lot about the oath that we took in MEPS. And Vargas, you understand where I'm coming from when I say this. We took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States.
Preach it, brother.
Against enemies both foreign and domestic. Not a president, not a political ideology, but the Constitution. And for decades, more than a century, the Constitution has been enforced with two separate tiers. And I think about the BLM protests over the summer, where you had soldiers standing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, armed to the teeth, and the sister that got killed for crossing the line at one of the BLM protests a couple years ago, she was shot. And then I fast forward to Wednesday when you see Capitol Police moving the fences, allowing people to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And while in the Capitol, I understand why they didn't engage them. I get that because, like I said last night, everybody deserves to go home. You know what I mean? But to openly suggest or infer or say that you are going to overthrow the government of the United States is sedition and an affront to the Constitution. And, you know, I agreed with you last night when you said that you felt like you needed to go and defend the Capitol. I agreed with that premise.
Yeah.
But
What would happen to us, bro?
and that's what I was getting ready to get to.
You know what I'm saying? What would happen to me? You
We
and Stone,
will be
go down
killed
there?
for trying to defend the Capitol if we showed up armed.
Yeah. I don't think there'd be no doubt about that.
Which goes back to the two tiers that I was talking about. Two tiers of enforcement for the law and the Constitution. So I have a situational and operational awareness of what's happening. Situational awareness, the commander on the ground sees. It was a real shit show Wednesday. Operational awareness, the colonel, the general, back at headquarters a few thousand miles away. This is what they see. That was an event that needed to happen to awaken the hearts and minds of people. And for those folks who feel like they can violently overthrow the government of the United States, be very mindful that the people who are suggesting you do this are paper patriots. Those same fuckers who complained about Bone Spurs and heart murmurs.
Six-time
draft dodgers. On both sides of the political spectrum, you have real patriots. People who have served, not just in the military, but also in federal service and public sector service, right? Be very mindful of the things that you do and what you say. Because everybody want that smoke, but they don't want the fire that comes with it.
Nah.
So be very mindful when you read these you know,
Tweets.
these tweets,
Facebook posts.
and these polls that tell you, you know, 40% of conservatives feel like the election was rigged. Maybe you can't count, but that means 61% of the country doesn't feel that way. For those of you who feel that it's okay to censor my vote and to subdue my vote and my choice for who leads this government, be very mindful that you are outnumbered. Be very mindful of that. So, as a libertarian, you feel free to say what you want. I don't really care.
It's a constitutional right.
Right.
But also these fake ass right wing extremists, Antifa, whoever the hell else you are. Listen, bro. Listen. When you out at your camps and you shooting at cans, 10 cans don't shoot back,
No,
motherfuckers.
they don't.
They don't shoot
boom.
back, son. So listen, there's brothers out here. We very quiet. We docile. We try to stay under the radar because, listen, that's what we have to do in order to survive. Because I'm going to keep it 100. Everybody that's listening. As black men, as minority men in this world, we got to work 3 to 5 times harder than the average person. We don't go smoke cigarettes with Joe and Chad and Chet and get bumped up in promotions. So listen, we know how to work hard. We know how to grind. We know how to sacrifice. We know how to have our dick in the mud. So just be mindful that, hey, listen, you want that smoke, like Noir said, you can get that smoke. You can get that smoke. And there's many other people that feel that way, and what y'all forgetting about the most is you can talk all that trash you want. Let them shock troopers in them big cities come out at you. And what I'm talking about is them gangbangers, because those are our shock troopers. Hitler had his shock troopers. Yo, the hood got their shock troopers. And them young boys ain't going to go away quietly into the night. Because listen, they already desensitized. So they ain't got no problem giving no smoke. And every police officer that might hear this already understands what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that from a negative perspective, because every brother that's in blue needs to come home every night. But they know what they got to deal with every time when they deal with somebody like that. Them cats don't care. They don't kick fair ones no more.
Just keep your politics, keep your beliefs, keep your ideologies to yourself.
Can I expand on that?
Can I
expand on that? If you want to talk politics with somebody, I have one question to ask you, because this is how I feel about every American that I deal with. I'm willing to lay my life down for a fellow American. Unless you're willing to do that for me, don't talk to me about politics. And I'm saying for a person I don't know. So on some real, if you cannot come and talk to me and tell me that you're willing to lay your life down and put your life down for my wife, my family, your neighbor, with any hesitation, don't talk politics to me, because it's not even worth it at that point in time. Because I know what you are at that point in time. You a paper patriot. You all talk. You a Crayola crayon. You all talk in color. That's it.
Do you think there's an answer? Or, I mean, there's a lesson to be learned, obviously. What do you think the next move is?
Well, the next move right now is, I've been seeing these funny Facebook posts and so forth, and they were saying, hey, and I don't want to quote it exactly, but it says basically in so many words, don't shoot us like you don't shoot them, right?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Roger that.
Shoot them motherfuckers like you shoot us, because the only way privileged America is going to learn, because listen, every time something happens to them, they have the financial means to get out of stuff. They know somebody that's connected somewhere to brush it under the rug. Hey, is there any way we can make this go away? That's the favorite term.
Mm-hmm.
You know that, bro. You know that. So the question that I ask every minority in the world or in America is this: which pill do you want to take? The blue pill or the red pill? Because I saw a Facebook post the other day, or a video, excuse me, and the white girl from Tennessee said it's a revolution. Okay, if it's a revolution, then hey, we as minorities need to realize which side we're going to fight on. Do we fight on, we already know the current America is fucked up, okay? But what do you want to deal with? It's kind of like being with a certain person in your life when you're married or whatever, right? You already know their faults.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this person that's portraying themselves as being so much better is the better option for a spouse? You already know all this person's faults. So do you decide to go with the blue pill and say, I already know this country's already fucked up? We're in a beautiful ass house, brother. If we let the other side win, we ain't gonna be able to be in this.
Say it again.
I ain't gonna be able to live across the street from Noir. We're not gonna be able to podcast. I'm lucky. I might be a house nigga.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Cause I'm that light. But what about the rest? So we need to think about what side, if it gets down that bad. Because if you think about it, in the end, what have we always wanted was just to be given our basic human rights. And if you don't want to give it to us, when do we say enough is enough? But now even them human rights are being taken and threatened. But at least we know it's messed up. But then these cats over here that sacked the Capitol the other day don't want you to have any. So that's the first thing we got to think about. And then there needs to be some kind of purge or something that needs to be done within the Capitol itself to start screening these individuals. That's our senators and our congressmen. Because these individuals, if you think about it, every president that's ran for president, except for like in the old times or whatever, most of these cats is already millionaires. It's just another feather in their hat.
Yeah.
Right? Same. There might a couple congressmen, a couple senators or whatever. There's a few that's not well-to-do, well-off, doesn't have the pedigree, but the most of them, what sacrifices have they made? What sacrifices have they endured? So do we need to start putting people in place that can at least have an idea of what the everyday struggle is? I don't know, and that's the difficult answer that you pose, brother. What is the next step? My next step is I just want everybody to be enlightened as to what happens if. Are you willing to make the sacrifice if? You know? Move on.
My answer is leave me alone. Leave me alone. Keep your politics to yourself. Keep your ideology to yourself. Keep your religion to yourself. Keep all those things that you want to impose upon me to yourself. I don't go out looking for trouble. I don't bother people. I don't try to convince or sway people to believe the things that I believe or disbelieve. Leave me alone. That's all I want. Now, if your ideology requires you to make me act or think a certain way, or means that I have to do something that I am ideologically opposed to, one of those two things can't coexist. So as long as you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. You can think whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. This is a great country. We have those types of freedoms. But keep your bullshit to yourself. That's all I'm going to say on that.
All right, now the next step. The current occupant of the White House.
All right.
Had several days until his term is up. Obviously, there's conversation in reference to some options to remove him prior to that date.
Right.
25th Amendment, Article 4, which states he's incompetent to perform his duties as the president. Impeachment, which obviously speaks for itself, will be his second impeachment, and I believe the first president throughout the U.S. history to be impeached twice.
Right.
Now, my feeling on the 25th Amendment, because, again, Article 4 kind of spells out a third of the cabinet, the vice president makes these moves to move forward with that, but he gets to argue that. He gets to respond to say that they say, you can't perform your duties. He has an option, and like any other legal argument, to respond, I can. Impeachment. If I'm understanding this correctly, this will preclude him from running in the future for any office. But
if he's convicted in the Senate, correct.
Right. So, again, what's your feeling based on the fact that we're looking at 11 days prior to departure?
Let me put on my conspiracy theory hat.
Break it down, baby.
Go ahead, brother.
I got one of those too. I'll just keep it in the basement.
I think
It's a nice basement.
I think they've already done that.
When you say done that, you have to expand, sir. The audience
25th Amendment, Article 4. I think they've already done that. I just don't think they've publicized that.
And you say this based on what?
If you take the news reporting at face value, it was Nancy Pelosi and Vice President Pence who reached out to the Department of Defense to have the D.C. Army National Guard deployed to the Capitol to provide security and set up a perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
According to the Constitution, only the President of the United States can activate the D.C. Army National Guard because D.C. is not a state.
That's correct.
Okay? Pence does not have the power to do that. So one of two things happened. Either Trump called them or Pence called them. According to Trump's surrogates, Trump was reveling in the fact that there were people tearing up the Capitol and was hesitant and resistant to calling the National Guard for almost 2 hours. According to that same reporting, it was Vice President Pence who had the National Guard coordinated Maryland and Virginia State Police, and Muriel Bowser who coordinated with the Capitol Police to have Metro PD on the Capitol complex and a show of force to remove people, right? If Pence did that, communicated with the DOD, that is a violation of the Constitution because he is not commander-in-chief. Only Trump is. Couple that with the fact that the POTUS account, his personal account, across most major social media platforms have been silenced.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has been effectively rendered inert. The fact that Nancy Pelosi and Pence feel it's prudent to reach out to the DOD to have Trump's ability to launch nuclear strikes, and military action
To be revoked.
to be curtailed
Okay.
tells me something has already happened. You got Elaine Cho and Betsy DeVos, cabinet members who resigned, who up until Wednesday were all in Trump's corner. I think something's happened already and we're not being told that something happened for fear that the country will really burn up. Like, for fear that those people who follow Trump would really do something. And I think it'll come out later that he was effectively neutered. But I think the 25th has already been declared.
So this is smoke and mirrors that you
This
believe?
is all smoke and mirrors right now.
Dog and pony show, 100%.
So you agree with that concept?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would never. We talked about this last night, and when you look at the laws that are in place, Pence doesn't have the authority to move forward at all, and there was that.
I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to push back and give you the not just conspiracy theory, but again, if we're talking about face value,
Right, face value.
And we're talking about a president who we know who lies all day, every day. The video that he put out after, he claims, again, very careful with the word claims with dealing with this individual. He claims he notified the National Guard. So there's now a conflict in story of who actually did what. But based on his past precedents, do we believe anything he says? He states he notified the National Guard. Again, going back to what you were saying, and then the information that came out prior to was Pence was the notification factor.
Let's look at Trump's record from the beginning.
Well, absolutely, you have to.
Right. His what really concerned me about when Trump won, right, was not the fact that he won on merit, not the fact that he was just a better candidate in the fact at the time he was for the situation because he was able to manipulate it. Okay, Trump portrays himself to be a fool, okay? But he takes the old Ford ideology of, I'm going to put the smartest people around me to find out what needs to be done. He may not move on what needs to be done, but he finds loopholes in the system to move forward, okay? Let's look at his track record. His track record is, what was his whole campaign on? Fallacy. Mudslinging. It was never, but the main mantra was, let's make America great again, okay? But his whole, if you look at his debates, if you look at when he had a issue that someone questioned him on, he was never held accountable, he never held himself accountable, and it was always someone else's fault. All right? So for him to claim that he did it, I'm with Noir on that. Yeah, you know.
Say what you want to say.
Say what you want to say, okay? Maybe he did, but was it because he wanted to do it, or was it that someone said and got in his ear and said you need to mobilize these troops because it's going to really get ugly, and you don't want you don't have any bodies on your hand at that time. Remember, it was only one reported body, and that was that woman that tried to climb through the window, right? It could have easily escalated to 10, 15, 20 Capitol Police being murdered, right? And he may have finally decided to move forward and make that call because someone recommended for him to move so that this way he doesn't have any body counts on him. Because once the body counts get on him, then it's harder to get out of that rabbit hole.
Before we go further, I want to say shout out to Joe Jorgensen for president 2024. That was the person that I voted for in this election. I am not a Democrat or a Republican fan.
These words are not smoke world disclaimers. In this
Yo, he went far right on us, right?
Shout out to Joe Jorgensen.
I'm looking at him like, where you going with this, bro?
But, you know, I think if I use the COINTEL profiles as an example for the shady stuff that the government can and will do, it's not a far reach to think that Trump was effectively, and not physically and not violently, but in terms of his authority, decapitated. Meaning the power of the presidency was significantly cut on Wednesday with him as the president.
By whom? I mean, who? Under what authority?
I honestly think that the 25th was invoked.
I honestly agree that they show cabinet members hiding and so forth, but I think once they got back to business, I think they, in my opinion, I think at some point in time, the vote went through just like Noir says, and it was invoked during that hostile takeover of the Capitol.
Okay, now the question I have too, not to cut you, sorry.
Sure, no worries.
If there is a possibility that both things can happen, the 25th Amendment and impeachment. I don't know. I'm not a scholar. I haven't studied that. So I don't know if both things can happen simultaneously. Well, not simultaneously, but this can actually happen. Okay, now you're saying, you say you put your conspiracy hat on, that okay, 25th Amendment's been implemented, but yet come tomorrow, Monday, there's articles of impeachment going to the floor.
I think
again, but there could be smoke and mirrors again.
Trump
smoking and mirrors.
Trump has upended so much of what is considered the norm. We're in a constitutional crisis because we don't have anything for the Constitution to deal with what we're seeing specifically. Some would suggest, like Clyburn from South Carolina, that you could impeach him in the House now And then after Biden's first 100 days, send it over to the Senate when you have a Democratic majority. Some suggest that there should be no impeachment. Some suggest that there should be no 25th Amendment.
Just ride it out.
Just ride it out.
Yeah, but the problem with just riding it out, brother, is that if you honestly think of the human psyche, okay, the human memory is short when it chooses to be. Most of the people out here aren't going to remember what happened 4 years ago or what happened Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be ingrained in their minds, right? And some may disagree because I mean it's ingrained in mine, but when I say ingrained, I'm talking about ingrained to where it mentally and spiritually affects you. Okay, we as minority men, will be branded into our soul, and I'm talking about a pledge brand, hot iron come into your soul, flesh burning for us, right? These privileged Americans aren't going to remember. The Susie housemaker who lives in Abyss is not going to remember because it doesn't affect them. So their minds are going to be short. So the best way to keep this monster out of office is to run the 25th. You have to, because everybody will forget in 4 years. Everybody will forget about how he didn't handle the COVID situation. Remember quoted words, our borders are safe. Okay? Borders didn't get shut down with the UK because he had financial transactions going on and obligations going on with the UK. That was the last border to be closed because there was financial gain for him. Okay? So this has to be enacted because if not, memories are too short because people will not remember. Look at it this way. As military personnel, you and I, Noir, Stone, you know, in your occupation, everybody remembers what they was doing during 9/11. We remember what we still fight for 9/11. You got these young bucks coming up that's 18 joining the Corps, that's 18 joining the Army, and they're saying, what we fighting for? Nigga, a building got blown the fuck up on American soil by hostile terrorists. That's what the fuck we fighting for, but they forgetting. So if these parents weren't smart enough to teach these young bucks what to do, what's going to happen to us in 4?
I think America is coming to an inflection point. And just like there are financial market cycles, I think every 80 to 100 years there are cycles of war.
But why is that? Mainly it's always because what do wars do? Create the economy, and they also reduce the amount of individuals living, the population itself. Go ahead.
I think what we're witnessing are the precursors to a tempest that is coming. It won't be 2020. It won't be 2021. 2024, 2025. Something is coming. And the way we view the world will change forever. And as much as I want to be left alone to just live, love my wife, raise my kids, be a good citizen and be a good person, I think something is coming that's going to change all of us and will do irreparable damage to all of us. And I think what we're witnessing over the last 4 years are precursors to an event that's going to happen that's going to just move the world into conflict.
Are you able to expand a little bit on your concept of the word something? When you
Sure.
when you say something, what are you thinking?
World War One, a king was shot.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, there were ideological differences all across Europe. But a king was shot. And that launched the world into a world war. The 80 years before that, you had, 80 years before that, you had the Battle of Fort Sumter, where the South was upset about the revenue that they were being asked to pass north. People think the Civil War was about slavery. No one cared about our black asses. It had absolutely nothing to do with us. It was about taxation.
It's about taxation on them crops down in
Right.
cotton fields, yo.
You go back 80 years prior to Fort Sumter. Well,
Let's go to the American Revolution.
yeah,
That'll
80,
be
80, 86 years before.
1774, 75.
Right.
1774,
Now you got the
75.
American Revolution. So you got these 80 to 100 year cycles where the world is at war. And if you think about World War II and you calculate that 5-year period, we're up for another cycle. Now, I'm a finance guy, specifically a crypto guy. I pay attention to cycles in markets because they're far more accurate than any technical or fundamental analysis that you can do. This is a cycle. This is cyclical. It's coming. Whether it's 80 years on the nose, 83, 88, 90
It'll be 100,
years.
105.
Right. But it's coming. You have a number of dictators and despots in the world that have ideological differences from the West. You have a resurgence of slavery in North Africa. You have the eventual decline of petroleum and oil usage in the world. And you have financial forces that oppose all of those things. Those two things can't exist together in a vacuum. Something is coming. And no amount of preparation can prepare you for that. So, yesterday we were talking, and some folks disagree with what I said, but this is not my fight. Not yet. This is not my fight yet. It will be. There will be a time where I will be forced to act. There will be a time when my children may be forced to act. But this is not my fight. So when I look at what's happening right now, and when I think, to go back to your question, Sun Tzu said that there are three actions that can be performed in war: attack, retreat, and wait. Waiting is not doing nothing. Waiting is waiting. Waiting is observation. I am waiting to see what happens. I'm waiting because there is no next steps as long as you have people who believe that they are aggrieved and they are wrong and they are justified for trampling upon your rights and your rights. There are no next steps for them. There is no reconciliation because people live in a bubble, and we all in some shape, form, or fashion suffer from cognitive dissonance. So there is no rationalizing with these people. We just have to wait for what comes next.
And I agree with him wholeheartedly, because if you go back to the Hitler youth camps, right, and you look at history in its day, during pre-World World War II Germany was in disarray, right, and when you look at all the negatives that Germany expanded onto the world, some of the things that they did was that party did was amazing. You know, they created the Autobahn, which in essence is our interstate system to a degree. Okay, just not as wide, but we have speed limits. They don't, right? They had these work programs. They had Section 8 housing, but it really wasn't Section 8. It was common housing where everybody got paid an equal paid labor, almost basically on a union basis. Okay.
You got the Volkswagen.
Right. but when you really look at it and what they did as a whole of Germany, it was either you with us or you against us. And they brainwashed a lot of folks. And the support with Noir saying, like, they have a website out there. They have mailings every day. They're pushing out all these publications, and they're just blinding these individuals and blinding these individuals. And they're saying, you know what, Smoke World? That Smoke World guy, hey, Chad, he took your job. Because why? You know, they had to have a black man hired over you for quota basis. Hey, little Susie, you didn't get into school because they had to have a certain quota for a certain amount of minorities. And they are just feeding this people with hate upon hate upon hate. So there's really no turning back. My ideology compared to my brother's ideology is wait. My ideology is, let me go get this AR and stand next to these brothers down at the Capitol and buck off right next to them. Because guess what? They ain't got to pay me to shoot nobody. I'll do it for free. Give me a ham sandwich and a 40 ounce since she want to stereotype me. You know what I mean?
Oh, man. Now, it's interesting you say, Noir, something's coming.
It is, brother.
Right. So now, what we're dealing with now, at least what we see from the past Wednesday, not say internal issue, but something here in the States opposed to worldwide. Now, how do you think that affects, or how did that leak out? Because you mentioned some other things that are going on in different countries. Based on where we're at right now, internal being the United States, an internal issue, how do you think that boils out to the rest of the world? Because the rest of the world obviously watched what took place. They all saw on Wednesday, okay, just what we talked about earlier, the two different justice systems, okay, that was for the world, was on the world stage. That, okay, had that been black or brown people storming that Capitol, the results would have been a whole lot different.
Okay, let me preface my comments really quickly. I am a believer of Marcus Garvey. So everything that I view in the world, I view through a financial lens. More a financial lens and less a racial lens. Okay?
World of Nations all day, the book.
Okay. So as a Garveyite, when I think about how the world saw what happened Wednesday, they watched the country that has the world's reserve currency go through a potential coup d'etat, one that they have never seen before, right? Combine that with the fact that we've increased the money supply by 23% over the last 4 years. You are going to start seeing countries diversify their exposure to American bonds and holding American dollars. You're going to see countries like the BRICS nation, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, move away from using U.S. dollars to purchase oil and for trade. You have the IMF already talking about the Great Reset. And you have the United Nations talking about this monumental event for 2030.
And that monumental event may be the yen being the standard instead of the American dollar.
The yen or the renminbi, the Chinese dollar.
So when you look at that, what is normally our strength? Is our currency and our military power. You lose any one of those, what do we have at the negotiation table anymore?
That's why we killed Gaddafi. That's not conspiracy theory. People think that, my conservative friends like to say that, blame Obama and Hillary Clinton for blowing up Libya and toppling a despot. Gaddafi, in my opinion, was not a despot. He just wasn't willing to kiss our ass.
No. Fuck kiss your ass. He told us to go fuck ourselves, bro.
Right. But the reason he was overthrown, the only reason he was overthrown, is because Gaddafi talked about creating a continental currency the same way the euro is set up in Africa, called the afro. The afro was going to be backed by gold. And if all 53 nations of Africa, I think it's 53, I may be wrong, if all of the nations of the African continent backed the afro and had that currency backed by gold, overnight, Europe, Russia, Asia, America, North America, all of these countries would immediately be poor overnight because their money wouldn't be worth nearly what the afro was worth. And whenever you seek to do something that upends the power of the United States and the Western world, we give you freedom. And what I mean by freedom is we bomb the fuck out of you. Ask Saddam Hussein.
Or
ask Bashar al-Assad.
Or they kill you and take you out of power. Ask Noriega.
Right. Or ask Maduro, which is what they're trying to do to him right now. Ask Hugo Chavez what they were trying to do to him when he was running Venezuela. Ask what's your boy over there in Cuba who just passed away?
Fidel.
Right. Ask Fidel what they did to him. Right? I am not saying that the things that they say that these people have done is wrong. What I am saying from a libertarian perspective is it's none of my business. I think about so many of my brothers and sisters in arms who've lost their lives in foreign nations fighting unnecessary wars.
Foreign interest is the oath we take at the MEP station.
Right.
To protect and honor foreign interests. Go ahead.
You want to make America great again? Stop being a fucking colonial power and bring them home. Let's take that money that we spend on the military. Let's get these vets off the street. Let's get rid of this homeless crisis. Let's feed people. Let's start producing things instead of being the world's largest consumer. The reason the United States has the world's largest economy is not because we produce things; it's because we buy things.
Yeah. All our production facilities have literally dissipated and disappeared. If you go, and again, I'm going to put my conspiracy hat on. What's one of the quickest way to enable a country to be able to fight? Right? We have all these contracts, military contracts, with outside countries to produce F-17s and F-21s and F-99s and whatever the case may be. Okay? if anybody has noticed or learned anything throughout the COVID situation is, bro, we couldn't even buy a freaking mountain bike over here if we wanted to, because everything gets produced over in China.
Yep.
Our whole production, our whole steel rate, and so forth. Now I understand unfortunately, when Trump uses the mantra of "let's make America great again," he's trying to have everybody go back to the philosophy and the lifestyle of the 50s and the 60s. Okay? But the problem is this. That was a perfect storm that happened during that time frame. Europe was in disarray. China was in disarray. The South America was in disarray. Russia was in rebuild. Everybody. So who was the only one that was able to produce goods? We were, and we could charge whatever we wanted and do whatever we wanted. Japan and China said over 60 years ago, especially Japan, yes, you beat us, but we will win the economic war. And for a time there, they were right. However, everything has shifted towards China. If you look at China, China has come over here and bought a whole bunch of steel factories. And then what do? They tear them down. In essence, they are crippling our ability to be able to function and build our own system. Look at the COVID situation. We didn't even have enough production facilities in Detroit to be able to build air-breathing machines.
PPE, basic masks, gloves.
Right. So if you think about it from a logistical, strategic perspective, if an assault was put on us and we were dependent upon our own people to be able to mass produce, we could do it because we have the physical manpower. We just don't have the facilities in place to just light a switch up, turn the switch on, open everything up, wipe the cobwebs off, and go into production to be able to do anything. When you have majority of our contracts being outsourced, we're in essence crippling ourselves, because yes, we have treaties in place with France and treaties in place with the UK and so forth. However, at any given time, they can shut that switch off, and now we don't have anything to defend ourselves.
You know, I get a lot of pushback and downright hate because I openly say that I agree with some of the things that Trump said. We need to bring those manufacturing facilities home.
We do.
You can't complain about unemployment. You can't complain about almost half the country being out of work when we've outsourced all those jobs overseas. We are to blame for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I am all for global trade, but I'm not for globalization. Not for international supply chains. We saw that when people were trying to buy toilet paper.
Yeah.
What happens when global supply chains shut down and the stuff that we're accustomed to getting from China goes bad? We saw what happens when strawberries and avocados don't come up from Mexico. We saw what happened when shale and syrup and agricultural products can't get into the country from Canada. We saw what happens when global supply chains shut down, right? I am not an isolationist. God, I can't believe I'm getting ready to say this, but I am America first. I'm not saying I'm a Trump America first.
No.
There's a difference.
But,
no, bro, you're a diehard patriot, in my opinion.
But we need to be able to do 80 to 90% of the things that we need
Even
here.
70%.
Right.
Even 70%. Just have the logistical means
right.
to be in place so that this way, if we need to employ and do what we need to do to be able to defend ourselves and or to be able to supply the food that is needed. Because
Yes.
what people don't realize is that when Maslow's hierarchy of needs crumples and fails, Not where you have you won't be able to manage what's going on outside our borders. We won't be able to manage what's going on inside.
Yep.
Because if you have no food or water or shelter, nothing else is important at that point in time. So what ends up happening? You will literally have America imploding from the inside because the individuals can't even focusing on the to focus energy on the outside. That would be someone who would be a threat to us. Now, however, based on that, all these countries know this is not the time to wage an attack. This is not the time to attack an embassy. This is not the time to attack a Marine Corps camp or an Army fort or whatever the case may be.
Fuck around and find out.
What will happen is you will give everybody a battle cry like the Alamo was.
Fuck around.
That would be the rallying point for all Americans. And then Stone, as you said, that would be the essence of trying to get a reconciliation, because now the enemy of my enemy becomes my friend.
You know, when you said that, bro, the first thing that came to my mind was when Ronald Reagan was standing in front of the United Nations and said how different the world would be if there was an attack from an alien species. Ways to galvanize the spirit of the world. What we need is a cause to rally around as Americans. Something that transcends race, something that transcends gender, something that transcends all of the normal divisive things.
Removes religion, removes money, ideology. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. We as men, right? We all know that what's the two main things that'll break up a brotherhood? Women and money, right? What's the main two things that separate everybody in the world? Money and religion. We need something that's gonna galvanize us, and make our intestinal fortitude come to the forefront. Yeah. So that this way we can rally. We all thought that COVID would be that rallying call. Right. But however, based on how the present administration handled this and the lies, and because of all the lies that he put out, into privileged America, that hey, this is just a virus. Allow it to take its course. This is not real. For all those individuals, and this has been suppressed and it's hurt my stomach as I talk about it, for you to tell me that this is not real, listen, you dumb motherfuckers. I know people who have died from this, who have been affected by this. Families have been changed by this. Yep. We're not talking about why the hospitals want to label the cause of death for COVID. We know it's a financial situation, but this shit is fucking real. Get your head out your ass.
I'm not even going to go into the COVID thing. I'm going to leave that alone.
No, let's go into the COVID thing. But we can talk about cigars. We need to lighten this conversation up. Because I warned Smoke World I was going to drop F-bombs on this show.
Break it down. Break it down.
Let's go back to the cigars.
Let's go back to some cigars, man.
Listen, bro. I tell folks, man, how many blends, fillers, cuts that we going to talk about? At the end of the day, we can always talk cigars.
So hold on. Time out. That's not a good question from my man to the right here.
Oh,
right?
God, here we go.
You know what I mean?
No, I'm just keeping it real. At the end of the day, we intro the cigars.
Your crib is like 25,000 square feet, right? This man to talk about 25,000 blends on it. You know what I mean? We'll be lost in here. We go into the rabbit hole on that one, man. We got to keep it simple on that. Like, we got to say, hey, let's do this.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to shut you down right there. Not shut you down. That's the wrong word.
No, you did.
But
bring me back.
The cigar culture, this is what we do. The cigar is just the base.
Right.
We go into conversation. When we at the lounge, we get into some deep conversations. Whether we at the lounge or we smoke, no matter what.
Yeah.
This is what the cigar culture does. We have great conversations. I'm smart enough to know to bring smarter brothers than me.
Right.
that know what's going on in life, just whether it be cigars or life. So I'm that guy.
Right.
I don't know too much about nothing, but I know I'm smart enough to say, yo, my man, he knows a lot.
So,
Bring him
so,
on.
so let's start off with a good conversation. This is always one of my favorite conversations. So I'm gonna lead the Smoke World questionnaire if I can. So Smoke World, how did you get involved in cigars, and what got you bit into the bug? Because that's always a good thing.
No doubt, no doubt. It was 1995. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I was in the country of Mexico on vacation, relaxing, laying on the beach with my feet in the sand. And for whatever reason.
So you was getting a natural pedicure, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay.
As the sun rayed upon my lovely skin and body, I said, you know what I'm going to do while I'm sitting out here? I'm going to have me a cigar. And from that point, I had a cigar. Now, don't ask me which cigar that was because I don't recall.
That's
But
not
nonetheless,
important. That's not important.
well, you know, some folks want to, do you remember your first cigar? Of course, I remember my first cigar, but I do, but I don't. I couldn't tell you the name of the cigar.
Right.
So with that being the case, back in 1995, that started something for me that became a culture.
It became a lifestyle, brother.
Absolutely. And I was
became
able
a
to turn a
lifestyle.
lot of my brothers onto that particular culture and lifestyle.
Yes.
Because, again,
Yes.
folks always ask you the question, who don't smoke cigars, why do you smoke cigars? That's the question I always get.
I get that. New Orleans, how'd you get bit by that bug, man?
It was interesting for me, man. I just moved back from San Diego. I was living in Columbia, Maryland. And I had a next door neighbor from a house that I was renting. And the wife was so nice to me, but the husband just never wanted to speak to me.
Of course not.
And he had, stars and bars, bumper sticker on the back of his truck. And, I could feel the heat coming off of him. But, in typical fashion, I knew he wasn't going to say nothing to me. But one day, I was walking in the house and the wife said, yo, you need to get to know the neighbor because he seems like a really nice guy. He speaks to us all the time. You need to talk to him. So one day I'm coming home from work and the guy comes out and was like, yo, my wife says I need to get to know you. Get in the car, I want to take you somewhere. Now, mind you, this dude got a rebel flag sticker on the back of his truck. So I'm like...
Can you picture that, man? Can you picture that?
Okay, sir. I have to ask the question, sir. You know what I mean? Not for nothing, but the audience is listening, and radio is theater of the mind.
Right.
So was this
Was it
white, black?
He was very
Did he
white.
have a low rider?
He was white, and was the wife white?
The wife was white as well.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Proceed, sir. I
So-
apologize.
when he was like,
Did
yo...
he have the big mutters on him?
No, not that one. And so he was like, yo, man, get in the truck. I want to take you somewhere.
Get in the truck. I want to
And
take
so
you somewhere.
I sized him up. This dude is like 65, maybe 70. He's an old dude.
At least you can take it.
So in my mind, I'm
Let's
like,
keep it real.
unless he shoots me, ain't no way in hell this dude going to get over on me. So I'm like, all right, cool. Let me just drop my bag. Take my bag in the house, come back outside, get in the car. And he takes me to this place called David's Cigar Lounge in Columbia, Maryland. And we go in. He asked me if I've ever had a cigar before. I was like, yeah, a long time ago, but, that wasn't really my thing. We walk in, and I pick up a Perdomo champagne. And he has a flask with him, right? I don't know what was in it. It was just brown. And this guy who I ordinarily would never speak to or communicate with or associate myself with ended up being one of the nicest people I've ever met. And we sat there at David's and got drunk as shit, sipping on this flask. And I smoked Perdomo champagne, and I smoked a Flor de Oliva, 2 cheap cigars, right? Not cheap. That's not what I want to say.
Whoa,
Budget,
whoa.
right?
Hey, they're gonna sponsor us. Don't say. Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Right.
He didn't
yeah.
mean that. Repeat.
Budget cigars, okay?
Yeah.
Economically
And-
feasible.
That was
He needs that sponsorship.
right.
Smoke world.
But that was when I fell in love with cigars. I was like, wow, I'm the only raisin in the pudding here.
But see now, back to you, brother A. He remembered which cigar he smoked. I don't remember. Only thing I tell you, brother, it had a green label, and it wasn't probably one of those.
But smoke. The
it
whole
wasn't no
point is,
Mackinac.
the whole point is, brother, is that you tried it and enjoyed it, bro.
Oh, I loved it, brother.
You know what I mean? Then you got bit by that,
Yes.
by that tobacco leaf. They said, "Hey,
Ooh.
then you was done. So leading to those questions right there.
Whoa,
Miss-
whoa,
no,
bro.
no.
Whoa, whoa.
We
Man,
not-
don't jump. Don't try to. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yo, listen, I took a
Yes, sir.
hostile takeover
I
on
see
Smoke
that.
World. You know?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we bring to you live and living color. Security!
So, Smoke World, what have you... So, you brought up why people always ask you why you smoke cigars.
Yes.
And, you know, I get the same question. I'm sure Noir does, but, you know, he smokes like 50 a day.
You smoke a box a day.
Yeah, yeah.
24 cigars.
We don't, you
Come
know,
on,
I think people
Come on,
forgot
man.
the question, right? But what have you found? Why do you smoke cigars? And you and I have talked about this because we used to ride,
Right.
right? So you know where I'm going with this question. What have you found to be the benefits or the pros of being in the cigar life and being around these individuals or being around that lifestyle? What has been the pros for you?
You're listening to it right now on Smoke World. The brothers in this room right now. This is the love, the cigar culture,
Right.
the lifestyle, but the brothers and sisters that you meet
Yep.
become like family. So that whole concept in itself,
Yep.
and going back into when we said ride, we talking motorcycles, folks. Okay, the best way I would describe it would be, okay, I rode a motorcycle. Now, it's great. You go out and ride by yourself. Not too bad. But when you get the boys together, it's a whole different experience
Yeah.
opposed to just riding by yourself. And that's how the cigar culture works for me.
Yes.
Like I said, but, you know, if you listen to a previous podcast, we talk about cigars and relationships. How that you meet individuals that become like family.
Right.
And like I said, this is a prime example that you guys are blessing me right now.
Yeah. Shout out to
be on
Keith
the-
and Rose.
Absolutely.
Right?
Shout out to Keith and
That
Rose.
y'all here right now,
Yeah.
my brothers, that I love, that I rock with, based on the cigar.
That's right.
So that's real talk right there, brother.
Word. What about you, Noir? What are the pros that you've encountered with being involved and wrapped up into the cigar life itself? Now, before he goes deep into it, Smoke World would like to say that, you know, crypto and currency and Bitcoin is a leading
Yes.
analysis and leader in his field.
Now,
So I'm giving the hype plug for him.
Yeah. Speaking of that, sir, you need to plug that.
right.
So before you answer the question, sir,
All right.
he will plug. Please let them know where they can find you.
You can check me out at CigarsandCrpto.com. My podcast is Cigars and Crypto. I have some real big surprises coming up this year. This will be my third year doing my show.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm at 138 episodes so far. And got about maybe 5 or 6 more in the cut. So that's coming out soon. I'm literally tweeting out right now for my followers and my listeners that they need to check out Smoke World.
Oh,
I'm
God
on
bless
Instagram, Twitter,
wow.
Facebook. I'm tweeting out right now that y'all need to follow me and you need to follow him. The one thing that I can say about cigar smoking is I've met people that I would never meet ordinarily by smoking cigars from all walks of life. Law enforcement, judges, developers, multimillionaire, cigar company owners, crypto people who I didn't realize were either into cigars or wanted to get into cigars.
Mm-hmm.
It transcends all racial, gender divides. it's just an awesome culture and movement. You know?
That's what I'm talking about right there.
So with that deep love and deep thoughts from both brothers, I'm passing it back to Smoke World.
Doom, 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 doom. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring to you now the only one, E-Money. Sir, you didn't answer the question. You asked the question.
I was trying to avoid it.
He asked the question, but he didn't answer the question.
Hey man, I enjoy everybody else's story, brother.
Well, we love that you do, but now it's your turn. So, ladies and gentlemen, doom, 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 doom.
Which question you want? Which
Sir,
question
okay,
you want?
when did you get started? How did you get started? We're going right back to that.
So I remember as a young buck, I would see in the mafia movies, a brother would smoke a cigar, and I was always mesmerized by it. I remember when I got older, I never smoked weed or anything, so smoking to me was...
He's lying.
So I never inhaled. So
there you go.
That's right. So
lies again.
So I remember my first cigar I had. It was with my boy Wallace Jones, young boy.
I'm sorry, you gotta get his whole government up.
Yep. Threw it out there, brother. Because you know what? He's
Okay.
legit. Got a great family. Lives in Wells, Pennsylvania, doing this thing. And Wallace lived around the corner from me. And our first cigar together was a Macanudo. Macanudo. Because back in 1990, that was supposed to be like the most expensive. And if you were smoking a Macanudo, that was it.
Negative.
So we So if you was smoking that, you was doing something serious.
Right.
That was fierce. Right? And I remember I got hooked. And what's funny is it was only a few of us that was smoking at the time, because during that time frame, it was really frowned upon to smoke a cigar. I remember.
Where did you live? I don't recall that being
the
case.
just being down here, brother, and
Oh, you was in Delaware. I'm sorry.
Delaware,
Yeah,
Philly,
yeah.
you know.
Whoa, don't bring Philly.
Brother,
Whoa. Security. I had to interrupt the story a little bit.
I go to Nights on
Ladies
Broad
and gentlemen,
on you.
I have to put a disclaimer out there. Sacks and tags and fees may be accepted.
Exactly.
But we didn't have a problem in Philly.
It's interesting how the culture and the lifestyle has grown and been more and more accepted. You see women now smoking.
Yes.
You see women now in the lounges and so forth. That was my first cigar, and then from that, I went into infused for a while.
Okay.
And then I started to venture out into the mild cigars, and I really stayed closed-minded and stayed in mild, because when I would read in Cigar International or read online, and they would say, hey, medium full or full, I just thought that was just too much for me, so I never ventured out. In the last 5 to 6 years, I've really started trying a lot of different blends and different bodied cigars, and found what I've liked and what I haven't liked. So that's been my journey with cigars as far as trying. Now the second question that I try to avoid is what has been approached for me is exactly what Noir has said. You and I have talked about motorcycles and what that meant to me. For me, motorcycle riding, majority of my best friends that I have now, still to this day, ride or die, and they're across the country now, I met through riding. Mm-hmm. And since I don't ride as much, and because the culture has really exploded, if you look at what has happened, you had Cigar Lounge that was here in Wilmington, that's been around, I would say, 10, 12, 13 years or so.
Easily, yeah.
Right? They could do and say and sell and whatever they wanted, they had it, because they was the one all and be all, right? Mm-hmm. But since then you had E Squared over at Omar expanding, and you have Spartan Lounge down in Elkton. It's really blown up, and then you have the Davidoff shop up in Philadelphia, and some other lounges across that's grown. I mean, even down in Atlanta, there's a shop that I went to where you literally have to get the code from the concierge to hit the numbers on the phone book.
The phone,
to
the red
come
booth
in
or
like,
something like that.
yeah, it's called the red booth. And so I've really seen how it's grown and it's been accepted. And, you know, shout out to the millennials, because, you know, the millennials have really pushed the bourbon rush back, right? And
avocado and toast. With
exactly.
Red sea peppers.
So, and, you know, because of them youngsters, that bourbon push has really been back, you know, and it's allowed us to experience a lot of bourbons, some good bourbons with some good cigars. So for me, because of all these lounges opening up, and because of, man, we forgot tobacco fields too when that was popping, right?
Definitely.
So,
Nick.
you know, you go
Johnny
in there
John.
and shout out to my frat brother Mason's on the set, you know. So, you know, it's you end up meeting a lot of people that you would never normally cross paths with in life, because their journey and their bubble in life is over here. So it never allows for the circles to intersect themselves. And you being in that circle, you're always in the point of that circle. So it allows them circles to overlap and be able to meet individuals and be able to forge friendships that become like brothers. And you ride or die for them cats, and you lay down your life for them. So you never thought that a simple cigar, sitting down in the lounge, and then you know, the other good thing is having deep conversations, learning someone's background, hearing what they've been through. Those are experiences that you would probably never get being in your own little world. So when you sit down and you talk to someone like Elder at Tobacco Fields, you know, we always had to deal with his golf on 2 stations, but you know, sitting there looking at him, you never think this man, a professor at University of Delaware, an astute writer for the columns, you know, for you never know who you run into and who you get to rub elbows with and just chop it up and have a good old-fashioned conversation, which is what millennials need to learn about.
Yo, man, can I say something real quick?
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Omar at Cigar C Squared. This pandemic has really hit that business hard. Always support your local brick and mortars.
Yes.
So if you're listening to this and you're in the Philadelphia, Wilmington area, make sure you stop over at E Squared Cigars. On Twitter, they're at cigars_E Squared. Make sure you support the brother.
Hey, Omar, I know you're listening. Yo, where you at? We set up a date. Yeah, I'm putting you on blast. I still love you. Get your butt over here, brother. We're going to bring Omar on so Omar can explain and break down. You're a Philly boy like me.
Yeah. And then
he's going to get a breakdown of E Square.
Get him to talk about his book, too, that he wrote.
Whoa. Did y'all hear that? Say it again.
Yeah.
Got a book?
For y'all that don't know, so again, when we talk about the cigar culture and motorcycles and how it transcends all cultural barriers and religions and so forth, because of the love of the leaf, and then when Omar found out that I rode, we was chopping up and we was sharing stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, yo, I think it would be a great idea. You know, we always have these ideas.
Of course. That's what we do when we smoke.
Yeah,
Smoking gives you ideas.
Right. And
drinking.
Exactly. So I was like, hey, you know, it'd be a great idea to write a book about all this stuff. And he was like, I did.
Wow.
So he handed me his book. So I'm not going to tell you the book. Just ask the brother
about the book
to buy the book from the brother.
Say no more.
You know
Say
what I mean?
No more.
So it's an easy read. It's only maybe a ½ inch thick, so it's not a lot in there. So when you read the shenanigans and so forth, it's a good read. So support that brother on that book as well.
Absolutely. Now going back to Noir's point, folks, if you're listening, no matter where you live at, again, support your brick and mortars because, again, we couldn't do none of this without that.
Yes.
At the end of the day, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm economically feasible when it comes to those pricing cigars. Does that mean I don't like nice cigars and pricey cigars? Of course I do. But I don't want to have to pay for them.
Robbery, homicide.
Yes. So with all that being said, folks, again, brick and mortar is the places that we can sit down, enjoy ourselves, meet the brothers and sisters of the leaf, do our thing, and make moves. Brothers, is there anything y'all like to share before we break out? Because we was really getting to the end today. We talking about a lot of stuff, brothers.
Yeah, I want to share one thing. Yo,
Yes,
man,
sir.
your studio is amazing.
Oh, God gonna bless you, brother. Thank you, sir.
I've been staring at the art, all the cigars, and the graphics all over the wall. The studio is
I'm
amazing.
gonna tell you a
bro.
little secret there, buddy. You know, I'm kind of not saying I don't want to use the word cheap, but when I was putting this little place together, I went and looked. Said, okay, let me find some cigar paraphernalia. Oh, that's expensive. Wow, I don't like that. Hey, I got a lot of magazines, and the dollar store sell frames. So I cut those magazine pictures out, my brother, and said, here you go. And so what you see mostly is a combination of...
So what you're saying is a shabby chic?
Mind your business.
Okay.
So, and then being blessed with some of the little signs you see here and there from some of the brick and mortar. Again, being at the brick and
Right,
mortar,
'cause you smoke
they
well.
show some love and say, here you go, Stone.
Yeah.
You can have that.
Yeah, you smoke, bro. Every time we catch up with you, man, you just keep raising the level on us.
Hey, baby, it's
You know, that's
2021. That's what we going to do. Cigars and Crypto will come to you. At the end of the year, that's going to be $1 million in right there. You heard it first right here on Smoke World, baby. Listen to what I'm telling you. What's today's date? I want to mark the date because when y'all say rewind the tapes, let's rewind the tapes. The
And
day
let's
is
rewind-
what? The
let's re-
10th
So
of
let's rewind the
January
tape on-
2021.
Let's rewind this tape on this. So
We going to bust a move.
So Cigars and Crypto. So if y'all don't know, Noir also does a concierge service for cigars. This is his passion. This is what he does. He really loves what he does, and he's really
And
trying to push out
hey, folks,
that
listen.
service. But also, he's
very
also
smart,
trying to
too.
push out 2 or 3 blends that'll have his label on.
Well, say it again. Say it again.
2 or 3
Smoke
blends.
World.
So I vote the first one be called Nevaeh.
I'm down with it. I
Again.
love that name. I love that name. I love that name, brother. I love that. I'm
So-
sorry, I cut you off, brother.
No.
I mean, I did. I apologize.
No,
It
that
was
was
a
it.
whole.
So did I thought it was the energy.
That was it. But no, Smoke, you know you're going to come back on my show, right?
Brother, I'll be honored. Honored.
Matter of
Come
fact,
back on
man,
the
let's
show,
make
brother.
this. Matter of fact, let's make this monthly.
Yo, listen.
Ooh.
That's what I want to do with you, brothers. Folks, you're listening right now. Again, January 10th, 2021. These brothers that you're hearing, we went for a little bit on this podcast.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we ran out of liquor.
Listen, I know we did. I got something in the back. It's coming. Mind y'all business. Don't be judging me, folks, listening.
Yeah,
But
you
no,
can judge me.
we want to do this again. I want to do this with you brothers on a monthly basis.
Hey, man, I'm for it.
Can I get that commitment right now?
Brother, listen. I got to check. Listen, I do what I want to do, but I got to check my wife first.
Yeah, you know what it
You know
is.
what I mean?
You know what it is.
Yeah,
Don't
everybody
talk
knows.
gangster.
Yeah.
Don't talk
Yeah,
gangster
yeah.
because you know better.
But before we bounce out, 357, all my Masonic brothers out there, one love. Keep your head up. Prince Hall, H and Free, get it together. One.
Brother Noir, anything, brother, before we shut it down, brother? I appreciate you, brothers, being my brothers on Smoke World.
Nah, man, I appreciate the invitation, brother. Thank you
Come
for
on,
hearing me
Yeah.
out.
Come on, man.
Yeah, Smoke. So thank you for having me. Thank you for having Noir. Thank you for your wife for allowing us to be doing what we do.
Thank the
'Cause
brothers.
listen, we pound our chests all we want, but we know what's happening.
Oh, absolutely. You know what
I
it
mean?
is.
And on that shout out to my wife Shannon. Love you. Hey, you the best. You bring the best out of me.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Exactly.
Kissy. Well, listen, folks. Appreciate y'all listening to another episode of Smoke World. Again, you can follow me on Instagram at SmokeWorld50. I tell you this every time. I'm setting something up new this year where we're going to actually be able to have you call me and we're going to be able to put this on the air. We're going to have a conversation. So, again, send
Sounds
those
like a lot of
emails.
disconnects, bro.
Mind your business. Send those emails to smokeworld50@gmail.com. Folks, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, to the station. We love you. Keep smoking. Stay safe. We'll see you on the other side. Peace.
Peace.